Picture this, you're a kid, it's the 90s, but years don't matter to you. What does matter? Cartoons. They're funny, they're awesome, Bugs, Daffy, the skunk who is definitely sexually harassing someone, the rooster who talks like a racist, all those guys. Not a girl in sight, cause this is a boys club. But who is invited to the club? Well, you don't watch sports cause that ain't cartoons, but you're a boy and that means you support sports, including the greatest athlete ever at that time, Michael Jordan. So take the cartoons, but just the Looney Tunes, and Mike, pit them against aliens in a game of basketball, and you got the Space Jam. Now, fast forward 20 years, or more, society sucks. 2D is pretty much dead on the big screen. You still don't watch sports. LeBron James is the new sports guy, but people are mixed on him. I mean, they like him, but they also hate some things he's done in the past. I don't know, I don't really follow sports. And Warner Bros. Needs to dig up IPs they own for quick bucks, in hopes that Disney doesn't go Unicron on their asses. This is the Space Jam 2021, and people think this one is just a commercial film because WB ain't even hiding their IP anymore. Truly, this sequel is a disgrace to the original film, which sold a bunch of Michael Jordan promotions.
Come on, Michael, it's game time. Get your Hanes on, lace up your Nikes, grab your Wheaties and your Gatorade, and we'll pick up a Big Mac on the way to the ballpark.
Was based on commercials that were popular at the time, and was largely an excuse to show off the cool basketball player hanging around Bugs and Daffy. Where did the sequel lose its soul and artistic vision found in the original version? I don't know, maybe in HBO Max. So, honestly, the conversation around Space Jam 2, known as The New Legacy, has kind of baffled me. Now, granted, I'm baffled at the idea of being hyped for it, considering I dislike the original movie, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I expected mixed reactions from people who worship nostalgia to the point of hating anything new, and people who just hated the original like myself. Seeing the trailer, though, resulted in a lot of doom and gloom takes from people who claimed it was the death of cinema, or another step, or whatever, and really, This will kill cinema? Even as a step, that seems to be a bit far. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I can understand being annoyed of seeing IP and crossovers, but if this is how cinema dies, then I've been supporting some worthless art form, because I can't imagine an art form being so weak that the acknowledgement of various IP is what brings the whole of it down. I get it. We need more original stuff. It can be a lot to take in seeing nothing but crossovers and studios flexing their content, as we see streaming apps from said studios being put out. But really? You're gonna get mad at the basketball Looney Tunes movie for this? Never mind the fact that so many Looney Tunes cartoons, yes, even the old ones, had the tunes poking fun at celebrities and movies from Warner Bros. I mean, honestly, this movie featuring WBIP at least feels natural to the franchise. But even if it didn't, the plot involves LeBron being in Warner Bros. Servers. What the hell else did you expect to see in there? Oh, did you expect them to ignore the studio's history? They're already doing this cash grab sequel. Would it really hurt to bring in other stuff for other fans to cash in as much as possible? No, of course not. Guys, you're acting as if a chocolate bar would destroy fine dining. Cinema thrives on art, sure, but it's always lived off of junk that makes money. Sure, sometimes the junk is great, but that doesn't mean all junk is that, and that's okay. In fact, I find myself in the strange position of being hyped for this one, a sequel to a movie I didn't even like to begin with, because while it's definitely junk, it's got some talented people involved. LeBron, for example, is a fine actor, which is more than I can say for Michael Jordan. By the looks of it, it might be more meta this time around, and look, I'm desperate to see major studios do 2D features on the big screen at this point. I'll take almost anything, even if it's in chunks, hoping it further pushes companies to do more.
How insulting! And true.
But I do have to wonder, what exactly are you hoping will happen the second movies decide to stop doing crossovers? I get that it feels like a new thing just because the Avengers was a big thing and the Lego movie was a great movie, but studios flexing what they own is really nothing new. It's just the approach that's become different. Cinema didn't get worse because Ready Player One was set in a world full of nostalgic Warner Bros. Material. Did Ralph and Vanellope reminding you that Disney has bought everything ruin animation? No, of course not. It's silly gimmicks, ideas, and tacky, I guess, but sometimes you get stuff like Roger Rabbit, the original Wreck-It Ralph, and the Lego movies, which all show you how it can be done well. Why dismiss it over some dumb movies? And we're still acting like it's somehow the fall of an art form. Tacky, dumb art exists in anything, but great art will always find a way to come through. Are you really telling me that Space Jam 2 is the sign of the end times for movies? Would you cry for literature over a knock-knock joke book? No, you'd move on and find a different thing. If art can be killed by the existence of art featuring various IP, then sorry, but that art ain't worth much.
What's going on here?
Look, I am just so tired of seeing people who are supposed to be smarter, who claim to be smarter, be reduced to morons the second a thing they dislike appears. Trying to convince the world that their dislike is justified because it's somehow bad for the world. When really, the worst thing it could be is just a bad way to spend the afternoon. Whether Space Jam 2 succeeds or not will have fuck all to do with whether or not cinema lives on. It's just junk made to appeal to kids and nostalgic adults. It may work, may not, but it won't do more. Big studios are hurting theaters. That much is true, but it's not by the content they put out. We've always had junk. We've had problematic movies. We've had nostalgic trash. We've had movies that are gimmicky. Why does it suddenly matter? Big studios are hurting theaters by emphasizing nothing but tentpole movies. They're hurting them by trying to force theaters to have less profit. They're hurting them by trying to force their tentpoles to have longer runs on the screens, which then prevents smaller features from being seen. But they only do that because audiences allow it. Look, the average audience is easy to blame. They're people who don't care as much about the art, so they go with any big recognizable movie. A sequel, a remake, anything, you name it. But you have to start looking inward. Sure, the average audience isn't aware of that great indie film, or that mid-budget romp, but why are you wasting your breath complaining about what cinema is bad for the art? Why not put that time to support the movies you want to see succeed? Tell your friends, tell other audience members. Social media is great for that. Sure, it won't guarantee success, but at least you're trying to get the word out on positive movies you want, rather than complaining to a corporate brick wall that knows you and the average Joe will watch their newest reboot just to complain. Guaranteeing the money will always be there despite what you think. Maybe it doesn't work, but it's better than acting like the world is falling apart because Bugs is playing basketball with Fred Flintstone watching in the sidelines.